Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Getting to the Bottom Line, where I'm your host, Stephanie Smith, owner of New Light Financial Solutions, where we help business owners walk the one clear path to generating more money in their business. And we do this by looking at 16 financial drivers of revenue, profit, and cash flow. And I'm really excited to have with me today Andrew on my show because we're going to talk about one of the drivers that we actually look at in my business, and that is customer retention. So thank you so much for joining me, Andrew. I am excited to have this conversation with you.
Excellent. Thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here.
I'm thrilled. I can we just start? Will you just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into what you're doing?
Sure thing. My name's Andrew Laws. As you just said, I run an agency called Yeso.io, and I got into it last century. Around 1998, I was building websites and figured out no one was going to find them. And that's when I discovered SEO and the world of digital marketing. So I'm now the owner and senior. I call myself the senior biped, and I think people don't know what I'm talking. Senior owner of two legs. I'm trying to come up with a job title that doesn't sound too much like managing director or CMO or something like that. But that's me. I also like to talk a lot, as I think I've probably just demonstrated.
I think that's okay. And it's great for a podcast because we
Oh,
can have a
true.
conversation. So, but that's so funny. Last century, 'cause soon there people won't be able to say that, but this on the cusp here. But so you've been doing it a long time. How did you get into it?
I got into it as in working for myself into it because I was working in London. I was working for a not-for-profit as a webmaster, which I think that's probably a job title that hasn't existed for about 20 years. And I'm a terrible musician, and the terrible band I was in was touring. And in the UK, we're only a little island, so you can cover most of the country in about a week. But what you can't do is cover your job if you're touring. It's very difficult to go to your employer and say, "Hey, I'm just going to go off for a couple of weeks now and make terrible noise all around the country." So I realized I could take time, as much time as I wanted, if I worked for myself. So that's how I started working for myself. It's not quite your usual origin story with business owners often like to say, I had a vision of creating the largest, or we wanted to be the best, or no, I just didn't want to have a full time job. That didn't really work out, to be honest.
I can't say I blame you. And I think a lot of business owners, they want that freedom. That's the whole point of starting a business. But I was once also a webmaster for a nonprofit
Hey,
that I volunteer for. Um, I I don't think anyone really does it anymore either. So that's funny. But tell me about what you do for your business. I know you said SEO, but how do you help your clients in the marketing space?
in reality, our clients, all most of them come to us because they want SEO. Now, the challenge is most people don't know what SEO is. They just know that they've seen lots of exciting videos on YouTube, or there's been consultants speaking at an event shouting about SEO. But the reality is, not a lot of people actually know that that's what they really want. So when people come to us, the first thing we do is check that SEO is the right tool. And it's not always. It often isn't. Somebody came to us wanting to start a competitor to a very large brand. We said, well, SEO is not going to be the right tool. But because I've been running this business and helping other businesses for so long, I think I can summarize what we do is we help businesses get unstuck. Because when you first start a business, as some of your listeners and viewers might know, you can kind of fluke it. You can kind of get by with enthusiasm for maybe the first year and a half, 2 years, just like drive and just, hey, I'm going to work all weekend and every evening. But you get stuck at a certain point. All business owners get stuck. And I'm guessing that's why a lot of them then work with you, Stephanie, because you help them get unstuck. So we help people get unstuck just in a slightly different way to you. Although we often refer to coaches and refer to people who know more than we do about kind of the good business practice to help people get unstuck.
I love that. And I think that what I talk about some of the traps that business owners fall into one time or at some point, and that's one of them, right? You get
Mm.
in that kind of catch 22, like you need to grow, but you need money, and you need to get money, you need to grow, and then you feel like I feel like a lot of business owners feel like they have to work harder to get their business going. And there's a lot of different strategies, right, to grow your business without necessarily working harder, which is why when we first met, we were talking about how you can increase your revenue by going to your existing customers is one of the easiest things you can do. So that is one of the drivers that we look at. So I'd love to hear how you have done that for some of your clients and what's come of that.
Certainly. So we help our clients stay in business and grow. I mean, that's really in our interest and their interest. And a lot of our clients have been with us a very, very long time. We've come across some interesting strategies for selling again to the people who have bought from you once. And the cliche goes, or the business edict goes, that the easiest people to sell to are the people who've already bought from you before. So one of the things we do to help our clients is we make sure they they make it very clear to their clients and their customers how loved they are. We do this in a number of ways. An interesting example over the last few years is we have a client in the holiday letting, vacation space. And during the start of COVID, it was panic stations because nobody could go on vacation. Nobody was booking things in advance. Just everything just stopped. And by that point, we'd amassed about 25,000 people on a mailing list. And we were kind of panicking ourselves, to be honest. We have a very collaborative approach with our clients. So my client, I know you can't see me, but he was sat on a table just over there. And he was just saying, what are we going to do? It's over. I said, it's not over. You've been running your business for 10 years and you've got 25,000 people who like you enough to stay on a mailing list. Let's ask them what we should do. And we sent a message out saying, look, we don't pretend to have any answers. This is the early days of COVID, but we want to make sure we stay in touch with you when we're forcibly closed. So we gave them three options. It was just a little poll. We said, look, do you want us to give you information about going on vacation, which we weren't sure about because that seemed to be the last thing anyone wanted to think about? Do you want us to send you information about COVID? And I don't know what we would have done if they'd said yes to that. We didn't know. Or number three, should we just make up loads of daft things to keep you entertained? And much to our surprise, almost everybody chose number three. And it was interesting because there was nothing there to directly monetize. There was nothing in that messaging that said, look, I use the royal we when I talk about my clients, meaning that if I say we, I'm talking about them. And it seemed really strange to us at the time. We're saying, look, we're not going to try and monetize the situation, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next few months or possibly years. So when we come out of this and we can start allowing people to come and stay with us on vacation again, can we do something to put them in a mindset that makes us the obvious choice? And that was when the daft things came about. And oh my goodness, the content that we sent out then was the dumbest content I have ever been involved in creating. It's a dog-friendly vacation place, like luxury lodges with hot tubs and whatever. So we sent out emails with things like we put a load of dog treats in a jar. And we sent an email out going, look, this is really important, really serious. Can somebody please guess how many dog treats are in this jar? And it got to the stage as COVID rolled on, ideas were starting to get a bit thin on the ground. So the business owner started knocking things over. This is really strange. But for example, he had a box of screws in there from some DIY. And we made a video of him knocking the box over. And then people had to guess how many screws had come out of the box and how many had stayed in. I mean, this is thin content outside of the context of that. It was thin content, but people absolutely lapped it up. And then we decided to take it a step further. We're saying, look, people are engaging with the content and we're retaining them. They're staying on the list despite we're being just bonkers crazy stuff. So we thought, well, what's going to really engage people? Because it's still quite passive to receive an email, even though we're asking people to interact by clicking something. So we came up with the idea of doing an online pub quiz. So every Sunday for most of the COVID lockdown, and we did it again for the second lockdown we had in the UK, every Sunday, 7 o'clock, we went live on Facebook. and we encouraged as many people as possible to come and join in our pub quiz. The business owner read out the questions, which were terrible, and I was in the background sort of trying to keep it all working. It was like sticking things together with sticky tape. It was not the professional kind of production you might think it was. But we learned that despite the fact we spent years working on this is a premium brand we're working on a premium brand and trying to maintain this stance of always be reasserting our professionalism, we found out the more shambolic we got, the more people loved us. And that time is long past now. But what happened when lockdown came to an end, we were able to send an email out to a very highly engaged mailing list to say, thanks for bearing with us. I know things have been a bit weird and we've sent you a lot of junk, but we're now open for booking. And what happened was that was to date, that was the most successful month for booking in the entire company's history. So that's going from, oh my goodness, we're going to go out of business, to being the most successful the business ever had been. And I believe entirely, well, because we've got stats, we've got data, it's because we remonetized existing customers and cared for them, genuinely sort of kept them entertained in an age when everything was looking very, very serious. But I've not read anything in a business advice book before that says knock over boxes of screws and have your audience count them.
I love that because I think COVID and just in general, right? People had a lot of anxiety and they didn't know there was so much uncertainty. And I think we probably all needed a little bit of levity just in general and um, reaching out. I love that you asked because I
Oh
think
yeah.
we start by making a list. Everyone says make a list. And it's like, well, what do you do with it? Where do we go from here? But it, getting the opinion of the people on your list makes a big difference because they're the ones that are ultimately either going to open it or engage with it. So I think that's a fantastic strategy just in general to engage, right? And instead of just sending stuff out, I also love that you asked questions, whether whatever those questions were, but it prompted responses, I assume, so you could see how many people actually responded as opposed to just an open rate, which you don't know if they're actually reading or engaging at all, if they're just opening. But I were there prizes? Like who, if someone guessed the number of dog treats in the jar, did they get
Oh,
something?
the prizes were rubbish. They were not good prizes. There was a time we sent out like a chocolate bar as a prize for one of the competitions, but we started to send out slightly better prizes, and this links to another thing that we learned about how to make our clients feel loved, because it's a holiday let place. You turn up and you go to any nice vacation place and there'll be a stack of clean towels, the bed sheets are clean, the kitchen's clean, there's the correct cups and saucers and knives. There's a sort of a minimum standard that you would expect.
Right.
And we realized long ago that people like that. They expect it to be clean, but we want them to turn up and go, wow, this is fantastic. And there's kind of only so far you can go with cleaning before you get to a point where it's definitely clean. So we started giving away merch, and this has developed quite a lot over the years. So everybody, regardless of whether they've stayed with the client before or not, when they first arrive, they get a hamper. And this hamper has it's not a Stanley Cup, but a thing like a Stanley Cup that's, put their drinks in and keeps them hot or cold. They get a dog poo collection bag, thing. It's like a little plastic thing that has a roll of plastic bags so you can pick up dog poo in it. They get what I call the bag of snouts and entrails, but there's a local dog treat company, and it is, I don't know, I don't like to think about what type of meat it is too much, but it's things for the dog. And I'm not going to list everything, but there's about 10 or 15 things there now. And when you look at it on paper, the value of those things is maybe $15, $20. And the value of a holiday, I'm sort of translating it from UK to US here. The value of a peak holiday can be $3,000, probably slightly more. So we just kind of went that $25, $30 to give people the wow factor that's nothing. I mean, think how much money we pay for Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever. Having a box of merch that people love. And the best thing is they all go home and tell their friends. And we've got things like these little tags that you put on a dog's lead. And it says, I went on holiday to Wood Farm. That's right, it's the name. I can say the name of the company. They're called Wood Farm Barns. I went on holiday at Wood Farm. So we're not only making merch for the humans, we're making merch for the dogs as well, which is another one of those ideas that we just think, I would have thought when I first started working with this client was just bonkers. But it just shows how much effort we've gone to understand what motivates people who have already bought from us. They've already proven they're smart because they've bought from us once. Hey, let's learn from them, and they can help us encourage them to buy again. And it's not about just beating them around the head with marketing messages. It's taking time to really understand what motivates them, and it makes a huge difference.
I love that. And it's like the little things that make such a big difference too in the experience of your clients. And there's one company that I've bought from a second time recently, and I purposely bought from them again because the first time they did something so silly. It was so silly that like the address on the package that I got said to me, Stephanie Smith, but they put a little, a note that was like to the fabulous Stephanie Smith or something. And I was like, that's so stupid, but I loved it so much. I was like, I love this. Like you can tell that they cared enough to put the thought and effort into it that it made me want to buy from them again just
Mm.
because I wanted to support that business. So I think a lot of the times it is those little things that you probably don't think about, and no one's really teaching you to do those things, right? It's not like they're like, oh, write on your people's packages or include free stuff. Like everybody loves free stuff, but um, it makes a big difference of the way people think about you, and
Mm.
it keeps you top of mind. Now I remember that, and if I were to need something from that particular business, I would go there because of that.
It's I talked obviously about spending money, but yeah, you've raised a really important point. It doesn't have to cost anything. To put the fabulous at the top, there's well, a tiny bit of ink might have cost something, but not much. But
Right.
it's that we want people who have bought from us to feel all warm and fuzzy about it and to think, yeah, no, I want to do that again. Something nice we have in the UK at the moment, there's a lot of companies now what are called CICs, community interest companies. So they are kind of a bit like not for profits. And we've noticed that people like buying for them because it's supporting a cause as well as supporting a business. And the studies that have been done into millennial buying patterns show that whilst we might be impressing Generation X with these things, with millennials, it's going to be essential. And it's not going to be long until the millennials are the biggest buying group alive. I mean, I'm Gen X. There's hardly any of us. We're just impressed that anyone wants to speak to us most of the time, let alone kind of be nice to us. But millennials, yeah, don't overlook this stuff as cutesy. It's going to be essential. And it strikes me as the best investment ever because someone who's already bought from you is so much more likely to buy from you again. So just make it really easy for them to do that. And you can do that by winning over their heart or by some more mechanical things like reorder, make it really easy to reorder your products or
I
just
love that.
open a
Yeah.
channel of communication with them that isn't available to non-customers or just something, but it doesn't have to cost money.
And it's so true because there's a lot of effort, right, in the cost of acquiring a brand new customer. And then if you can find a way to monetize your existing customers and find ways to re-engage with them and make them come back, it's easier. They already know, like, and trust you. That's everyone. You need people to know, like, and trust you. And um, I think it is. There's so many different things that people can do from just like to your client with the mailing list, right? Just re-engaging and engaging. It's not just something that you send out every day or trying to get people's feedback and incorporating that feedback or making it easier to buy from you or, offer. I think a lot of people are even just scared to ask for another sale, right? Well, I offer something new and
Well,
see if someone will buy it from you. There's so many options, and it's the easiest way to generate more cash in your business without having to find new people because you already have people.
Absolutely. And for service industries, I think this gets overlooked. So we're an industry, as in digital marketing, where we work with most clients for a long time, but sometimes just through natural churn, people stop working with us. There could be a change of circumstance in their business or whatever, or they hire somebody internally that takes over the need of what we do. And what I decided to do a few years ago is that when a client leaves us, I'll look up and I'll check their website 6 months later and find a meaningful way to get in touch and celebrate something they've achieved, which is always something that's nothing to do with me or my company. Just to say, look, hey, that's really cool. And it has brought clients back on board, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't, because if somebody who stops working with your company still feels good about you, they're still an ambassador for your company. So encourage anyone who in the service industry or even a trade like plumbing or heating engineers or whatever, if you haven't worked with someone for a long time, find a meaningful way to come back into their lives. One of the things I've started trying to do, which is can be a little more challenging, is to find a news article, a positive news article that relates to the industry an ex-client was in, and just say, I just send an email that says, "Hey, saw this and thought of you," because I think that's nice. It all comes down to just being nice. But I was talking about this with somebody who's a mortgage broker. So you would think a mortgage broker, you need a mortgage once every, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. So they were
Right.
saying, what's the point of me trying to re-engage people who've already bought from me? Sending them a Christmas card, or why should I bother? They're not going to need a mortgage for maybe 10 years. But when they do, what brand is going to be freshest and what experience is going to be freshest in their mind? It's going to be that nice woman who kept sending us Christmas cards for years after she sorted out our mortgage. This,
Or
well,
there's going to be people that are asking you, I need a mortgage. Who'd you get your mortgage from, right? And if they have a positive, if you have a positive experience, you're definitely more likely to recommend. And you don't want the negative experience because, everyone just goes and blabbers about that. So it's definitely more than just those people that have purchased from you before, because referrals are a great way to get business too. And it's all about being top
absolutely.
of mind, like you said.
Yeah, quite often growing your business by referrals is really good. It's a really good thing because people come to you pre-sold to a certain extent because they've had a conversation with one of their friends or whoever, and they know you're good. But sometimes people believe that you don't want to rely just on referral business because you need as many routes into your business, as many channels as possible. But I think that means people overlook referrals. And I'm trying to think of some of the things I've done. I buy gifts for clients sometimes, which again doesn't have to cost very much, but it can really mean something. And sometimes clients then start giving me gifts. I'm talking about things that cost like $5. So I turn up for a meeting with somebody. Doesn't matter how long I've worked for them. I don't do it at the start because it's a bit weird somehow to do it. You've just met someone, but someone I've been working with for years. I will turn up and go, I've just spotted this croissant on the way over, and I'm going to have a croissant. So would you like a croissant? And just that very pure gifting that has to be from the heart. I don't think you can fake it. But then why would we be faking anything with any of our clients and customers anyway? It just seems like a natural add-on to just being a good business.
Right. It's all about the experience for one, but I think we all are human and we just want to be seen and heard and
We just want to be
listened
loved.
to.
I just want to be
Yeah.
loved.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think if you take the approach of your business of just wanting to spread that and just spread kindness, I
Mm.
really think especially the way that there's just so much hate. There's so much hate and animosity and it's like it stands out when you're just nice.
It
Which is
absolutely
sad
does.
to say, but it's true.
So I'm interested, Stephanie, in. Sorry, I know you're the host. I'm now asking you questions. I'm interested in other ideas. One of the things I enjoy about talking to people like you is having other ideas enter my head about how to re-engage with people who've already bought with you. I mean, one of the other ideas I have is I've not done it yet, but sending out for my own company, I'm going to mock up a menu, like restaurant menu, and just list all the things we can do. Because in our marketing, when we onboard clients, we're an SEO agency. We're SEO, SEO, SEO. But as I mentioned earlier, that's not always the answer. So there's an awful lot of things we can do that clients might not know that we can do. So I'm thinking of to make it cutesy, make a menu and just put it in the post. Go, just to let you know, these are some other things we can do, because I've had conversations with clients over the years and they've gone elsewhere for things that we really could have done for them. And it would have been a lot easier for them, to have got them from us because they already understand our ethos, our ethics, and the way we work.
I love that idea because I do think some people, I want to say some people aren't great salesmen, right? Like you don't want to be pushy or seem like you're being pushy, but if people don't know you have the service, then they're not gonna ask you for it
Mm.
because they just don't know. We've been starting to do that a lot more too because a lot of people come to us for bookkeeping. We also do bookkeeping. And it's like, hey, by the way, we also do this other service where we can really help you grow your business. And just by bringing it up in conversations, like it's not, I'm not trying to sell it to you. I just want you to be aware. And sometimes that leads to clients, right? You're like, oh, well, I didn't realize that was a thing you did. So I love that. I think there's an abundant way to reach back out to people and re-engage. Um, and it's not like there's not like a script to follow with any of this, right?
Yeah, I guess a lot of it comes down to how well do you really know the people that you've already sold to, and if you know
Right.
nothing about them, you're missing an opportunity. Really, this is easy target stuff. This is.
And I think to your point, just having conversations with people, like how's business? What are you working on? What are you thinking about doing? And then maybe you fall into one of those categories, right? Oh, well, I could help you with that.
Some of my longest running clients, they come to visit us. I had one come in a couple of weeks ago. We've been talking about three-quarters of an hour, and then she said, we should talk about business, really. We hadn't even mentioned the name of her business. We hadn't talked about anything vaguely work related. We spent three-quarters of an hour talking about everything under the sun. And I'm aware I'm in a privileged position because we don't have hundreds of clients that we can do that. But I think even in a large company, that should be the skill of whoever is the touching point with the client or the customer. It could be the person on the checkout. It could be an account manager. It could be absolutely anything. But just being human, without going off on too much of a tangent at the moment, I'm predicting that over the next couple of years, this level of genuine human interaction will become more important as people start to harness the power of AI more. I've already heard people talking about the next phase being the age of authenticity. And
I can definitely see that. I saw something. I have a friend who posted on Facebook that was like, when you call someone, call a business, do you want to talk to AI? And most people said no on his post, but businesses are doing it for efficiency reasons. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes because AI is just involved in everything these days.
so why not get ahead of the curve? Start being more human now.
Right, right. Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of strategy, I'm sure, behind that. And we should follow up and have a conversation later and be like, how's it going? Is it changing the way that you do marketing, right? Because the marketing space is so heavily involved with how you show up and what your brand and your values are. And if you are going straight AI, it's probably not going to be the best approach because people see that. I think it's a little obvious at this point.
It's a little kind of uncanny valley, but already a lot of people will have spoken to AI on the telephone without knowing they have.
Oh yeah.
We're
Well, I
we're,
get
we're at that
bots call
stage
me
now.
all the time, and I know every once in a while you get a really good sounding bot that like sounds like a human, but most of the time they still have that like computer voice. You're like, I don't want to talk to this person. Just hang up, which isn't
I
great.
It's not, and I wonder how long it'll be before the AI agents on the telephones start saying things like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've lost my thread. I've forgotten where I was there." Because that's certainly a thing that I say in real life.
Right. I'm sure they already started programming them to do some of that. How are you doing? And then a fake response. I get some of those too that'll ask a question. I'm like, I know you're not actually listening to me because I'll say like random things and they always say the same thing back. But for if you're not listening, it's one way to keep the conversation going. Um, but this has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking with me. I want to know for anyone getting started in this area, I know we talked about a lot of ideas of how you can engage with your existing customers, and you threw in a little bit about the SEO there, but I want to know from your point of view, like what's the one takeaway you would want people to get from this conversation about what we're talking about?
I think it's what you said, Stephanie. Have meaningful conversations with your clients and customers. That's the foundation of all of it.
I love that because you engage with them. And I think for me it's a lot around the authenticity, right? Like be
Mm.
authentic and just people want to be loved and just remembering that when you're having any kind of engagement with people. So
I'm coming away from
I
this recording feeling really good about the world, Stephanie. I think it's
oh good. We could all use a little bit of that these days. But if people wanted to know more about you and what you do or work with you, where can they find you?
just search on YouTube or any podcast platform for the Business Amplifier podcast. You can either do that or go to yeseo.io, which is YESEO.io. And you'll find me and my merry team smiling and trying to make the world a more cheerful place.
I love that. And if you're looking to find more about me and what I do, you can find me online. Our website is newlightfs.com. Well, thank you again, Andrew. This was such a pleasure having this conversation with you today.
Likewise, I value your time and I've enjoyed this very much.
This has been great. Well, that's it for this episode of Getting to the Bottom Line. I hope you all join me for the next episode. Bye, everyone.